Hello, YouTube. This is Akainu Fanboy and your other host, Geboss, and this is the Galley La Podcast. And this week we will be reviewing One Piece Chapter 1035, Zoro versus King. So, Oda is just, I don't know what it is, man, but he just long-term will take away the goodness of Whole Cake Island with the cover stories. Whether it be Town, just reappearing, just destroying that really good scene. You could have just had Elvin kill him, but no tragedy allowed. And now we kind of get this, and I was just kind of thinking about this more. The cover pages tend to exist simultaneously in terms of the chronology of the story, I think. So I'm wondering if the Vinsmokes they just escaped right now in this moment of Onigashima. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I had heard about this before, that the cover story was going to be about Germa 66 escaping Whole Cake, and I knew you were going to be livid about it because the ending of Whole Cake was such an ominous ending to a arc, because we didn't know what was going to happen. And I mean, Jinbei showed up and everything, and we thought there was going to be more with his character. Like maybe the fisherman pirates sacrificed themselves so he could escape or something. And we thought, like we talked in our Blackbeard discussion, we thought that Big Mom was going to have Germa's cloning technology. But it just kind of looks like they escaped somehow, even though at the end of Whole Cake we saw Big Mom just kind of going after them. So I have no idea how it's going to be justified that they escaped. But
so that's what I mean. Like, are they escaping while Big Mom's gone? Because this is Escape Whole Cake Island. This is happening right now where we're out in the story. Because you see a lot of flames and fires on the island, and I don't think they were near an island. They kind of were, but so it looks like they just escaped while Big Mom's gone. You still see some damage, which is kind of an interesting thought. One, the simple explanation, they just decided to break it apart and they leave. But it would kind of be hard for me to see that happen with Katakuri and all of them there. Or if we were to insert our Blackbeard theory that everybody should go watch, the Blackbeard pirates just showed up and they took that opportunity to get out of there. That's another possibility too. So, it's interesting. I kind of wished there was more consequences though. I'm kind of more glad thinking that this is happening right now in the present and that they just didn't take off with Big Mom just standing there, because that would just be absolutely stupid and moronic on every possible level. And I'm still not satisfied with Jinbei kind of leaving, and I just hope the fishmen, like, they didn't get away too, you know.
And I do like your point that it's happening right now, because all the other cover stories have been concurrent with the Straw Hat story that we're focusing on.
And it's an interesting, I'd say it's fitting where it's happening in the story, because it's a good segue into like the ending of Sanji's fight. And it is curious because I know there's a lot we can get into right here, but so he will probably meet his family somewhere down the road to learn more about him, and then they could see what he's become. And I think it'd be interesting if he did see Judge again. I know people speculate that he'll be an ally at some point, because they can't go back to the world government. So the world government's hunting them down, and the Yonkos are hunting them down. So it would be interesting if they had some type of alliance with Luffy. But I think Sanji there'd be another moral conflict going on there. But I know there's kind of that long way theory where, and I kind of subscribe to this too, that when Sanji gets to the All Blue, he's going to form a restaurant like Zeph in the East Blue, but he's going to use it with the Germa Kingdom. So Germa finally gets back a territory, because they're known as the island without a territory, kind of cursed. And at the same time, he's kind of like redeeming it. And then he has his own like restaurant basically there too, where he kind of gets to fulfill his dream of feeding people as he's like feeding this mouse in this first chapter. So I don't know, it's cool because you see kind of like the prison that he used to be in with Germa, and then we just kind of transition over to this like first panel where you kind of like see him with like the mouse, and it's a great connection back to his childhood too, so it's kind of like coming full circle a little bit. So how'd you like enjoy these first 2 pages?
Sorry. I was kind of. We talked about this last week, or whenever the last chapter was, that we thought that there was going to be more with Sanji versus Queen, but I feel the way that Queen was just sent flying like Team Rocket in Pokemon. I felt that was like more of showing how strong Sanji is, because he just went through his defenses and everything and sent him flying off of Onigashima entirely. So I think that like adds another like feat point to his strength.
And the lightning still kind of left over too. That's a cool little detail that was added in there. And it's kind of funny. I think it kind of fulfills Luffy's like little nickname he gave Queen, that he's a balloon, because he's like soaring up into the air now. For his defeat, because he's the only one that's been knocked off of Onigashima throughout this entire war, which is funny. Poor Queen, look at him go. But I think it's and then his arm is completely destroyed, and he's all scorched up. He's barbecued at this point too. So and like I said, it was cool that, because I think a lot of commentators and people in the community forgot about the mouse that Sanji would feed. So I like how Oda does a callback to that. It does show that he takes a lot of care to this character. He cares about Sanji a lot. And so it is kind of, you get to kind of see the kindness aspect really play out in this last panel. And in some ways I kind of like that more than Queen getting thrown out in a bit. So it kind of brings the character arc full circle. He's still kind of the same person. But then he like kind of, passes out from what we can see. And you have some idiots saying, "No, that proves it's high def." Okay, just reread that fight. Tell me if that was a high def fight. Okay, so I mean, he just kind of went through a whole metamorphosis, so I think he's a little tired right now. So,
and you had brought up a point that it's not necessarily him fainting, but it's something else.
Yeah, so I think, well, one, when you kind of look at the panel, he's looking at the mouse, and then he just kind of looks up, he sees the girl, and then that's when he falls over. So I'm wondering if he just like saw a pretty girl and is like a gag, and he's just like doing that, or two, he's still having another phase of his transformation with the Germa stuff. So those are kind of my 2 thoughts.
Yeah, and I think that would be a good gag to do. But I think with Sanji and Zoro after their fights, because they clearly had the most difficult fights between all the Straw Hats outside of Luffy. So I think that them passing out would be justified. I was also thinking about, because we had talked about this geisha. She doesn't really have a reaction to Sanji, like, because we had set up with Queen that it didn't really make sense that he like double backed and everything. And I don't know if this is kind of disproving that at this point, but it seems less likely now, because she's so fine with Sanji at this point.
Yeah, maybe she like saw him rescuing the mouse, so that kind of made it, a little easier, because you see her trembling a little bit, and I'm not sure if that's because the mouse is missing or she just sees him still, like kind of this monster. He sent him flying,
Yeah.
But It is weird that you don't see like a dialogue between them, you know? It's just kind of weird how Oda keeps on dragging this out a bit with them. So I think she's going to play a big role for the rest of the arc with like maybe Sanji having a Mr. Prince moment where she shows him where to go kind of thing. And he's good at making allies too. So I am curious there. And it is weird how... Well, I know people were saying all the Beast Pirates are going to have an awakening and they're all going to come back up. I think that theory is kind of gone now because Queen, even if he got back up, he's not on Onigashima anymore. So.
Yeah, I mean, if it was King that happened to, he would have a way to get back on the island. But I don't know, can Queen like launch his snake form up wherever he lands?
Unless he has Reiji's wings or something like that. Yeah,
yeah, we talked about that before too.
But it is strange though. Like, I mean, I think Sanji will get back up. I don't think he's going to keep him KO'd. That's just like not how he treats his character usually, you know. So, but it is interesting that he's the only one that kind of passed out after the fight. So,
yeah,
it is. But getting on to the main event with Zoro versus King. So, what were your thoughts on this fight for the most part?
I thought the fight was okay overall. I don't think it was the best Zoro fight by any means. He had some cool moments in it, but I mean, my main issue is how Oda kind of wrote Zoro discovering King's weakness, because we don't really get to see it on panel or anything. Like between where the last chapter ended, where Zoro was gonna fight King, and this one, I feel like we're missing a chunk of the fight where it kind of, because King, when his flames are activated, or when his flames are out on his back, he's faster, but he takes more damage, and I don't feel like that was properly foreshadowed or anything. I went back through a couple of the chapters, and the chapter where King got his mask, a part of his mask taken off, he had his flames out then, but and when Zoro hit him with the Dragon Twister, he had his flames on, but it wasn't. I don't feel it was properly conveyed, except with like this expository line where Zoro just flat out says it.
Yeah.
There's no way for the audience to infer that.
Yeah, good point. Like, I really liked how Oda made it where Zoro had to use his brain in a fight, you know, to find out that it's not meant to be this, so he just usually doesn't figure shit out in a fight.
I don't know. Sometimes Zoro does quick maths in his mind.
But so he's different in this fight, but I just kind of wish he emphasized that point a little bit more. I did like the choreography. I did like how King used an attack that was based off his master Kaido. That was cool.
Yeah,
it's good to see Zoro struggle and to see the coating on his blades. And I guess the King of Hell, maybe that's like a reference to like the King's Hockey basically on the sword and everything. But I guess this is kind of a point we can maybe bring up in reference to Queen too. It's weird how both of them don't have awakenings. And I guess it's more weird, obviously, that King doesn't have King's Hockey either. So, yeah, I don't know. I guess in comparison to Katakuri, and I would say even Marco, he's a little underwhelming in that respect, you know? And I think Kaido's crew is just very top-heavy. I mean, he's a cool character, don't get me wrong, but he just seems like a tier below the other first commanders.
I mean, I think Katakuri... I think Katakuri is just below, like, Yonko level. In terms of, like... I think he far surpasses all the other, right-hand men.
Well, they said Marco had a possibility of becoming a Yonko after Whitebeard got taken out too, though.
That's
Like,
true, but like
he was like the only one capable of taking out Blackbeard, I think.
yeah, but yeah, there's no way. Just putting it out there, Katakuri would be king. I feel that like with Future Sight and Conquerors, I feel like he could take out King. And,
yeah, it's just kind of disappointing because I think the zone fruits just kind of seem kind of bad. You know, Oda had a whole opportunity to make them seem a lot more useful or bring a new dimension to it, and he didn't do it at all in this art, which means it's probably never going to happen.
And I think that Oda kind of not wrote himself into a corner, but he showed what the awakened fruits were, and they were the jailers in Impel Down.
Yeah.
So they're not necessarily that impressive as awakened fruits. And I mean, I feel like with awakened fruits, since they've been introduced, we're kind of like expecting them now. It's kind of like with people with Conqueror's Haki, like, oh, they don't have Conqueror's Haki, therefore they're not that strong in comparison. But I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think like King's giving Zoro a really difficult time.
Sure.
Without Conquerors, like Zoro's like putting all of his Haki into Enma right now. Like that's the only way he can wield Enma. So I don't know if Zoro's necessarily at like the peak of his power right now. It can be argued that, but like he didn't even use Ashura to beat him. I thought he was going to use Ashura, but now he has this new King of Hell. In the unofficial translation that we're reading, there's two different translations for this. Like when he does, like the first time he tries to do like the Purgatorio Nagiri, it's King of Hell 3-sword style, and then when he does the final attack against King, he says King of Hell 3-dragon style. So I don't know if that's a translation thing, because Ryu can mean it is a word for dragon, like Centauryu. I don't know if that's like a play on words or anything, or if it's written differently with different like katakana or hiragana or whatever. Because we just see the translations, we don't see the raws really. It'd be interesting to see the raws. But I mean the finishing shot against King was really good.
No, it was, and it was a good choreography too and everything.
Yeah, it was a nice callback to the one shot that Oda did before One Piece, where he wrote Ryuma as a character.
Yeah, and it is, I guess Zoro, maybe his quote-unquote, he doesn't really get a new power-up in this fight. I mean, it's kind of the same quote-unquote power-up he had with Zoro v Kaido, you know?
Yeah.
He hasn't really, I mean, he's mastered the sword more, but I don't really think he's gotten a similar power-up to, like, let's say, like a difference in kind, like Sanji or Robin or, you know, like it's kind of or Nami, I guess now, but it's like just a little different. So it was just kind of more him getting used to the same power-up, nothing really new, if you will. And getting on to that, I think, honestly, my favorite part of the chapter was the Lunarian world government thing. That was like really, really cool.
That one page of King's flashback was probably the most interested I was in the chapter.
Yeah, so it's interesting because they're in a lab, and we've been talking about like the link of Sanji being a Lunarian and how would he get Lunarian DNA and all this stuff. So if Judge was a part of the world government, or if he was also a part of Mads, they could have easily gotten the DNA from King, you know? So because they were obviously doing tons of tests on him and research. So and then also, I hope we get more of this, because I really wanted to learn more about Mads and the Lunarians, but maybe in Kaido's flashback, we can see him meeting Queen at the same facility. How he's like one of the doctors, basically. You know?
Yeah.
And then he's like, yeah, just come with me now, basically. And then that's how he gets Queen to recruit, too. Because it seems heavily implied Mads was a part of the world government.
Mm-hmm. So, do you think that this is, like, after the God Valley incident? Because he said, like, I'm leaving this place to form my own pirate crew. Like, Kaido's just starting off his solo pirate journey right now.
Yeah, so, I think so.
Yeah.
This does seem to be right after God's Valley.
Yeah, so, I mean, God's Valley could be linked with the Lunarians, too. Because they were called gods and everything.
No, absolutely. And I think... Yeah, and even if you look at the tech, it's similar to kind of what we saw with like Caesar's lab a bit, and a little bit kind of like Judge's. And so it is interesting to see those connections there. So hopefully, like, we can get more of him picking up his crew and everything. But you know, I kind of like King as a character. Like, I feel bad, like, in a way, how what happened to him and everything. So it will be interesting to kind of see how Oda develops this, and I hope we get to see more of it. And obviously, there's like a Skypean link, just kind of the way they look with the wings and the tattoos. So I'm curious to see. And you said like he kind of looks the most like Wiper from Skypia.
I mean, Wiper has the same type of like tattoo that curves around his eye, like the same eye as King. So and there's the whole thing with Eneru's cover story, which people theorized about this before, and I kind of laughed it off. But it looks like it's legitimately going to be a valid theory about how important the moon civilizations are going to be, because there was a like in the cover story, I haven't read it in a while, but it looked like there was a fourth, like there were three tribes, and those represented the three different tribes in Skypea. But then there was a fourth one that was like tucked in a corner, and I think that could represent the Lunarians. So, yeah, I have to reread Skypea and kind of see the connections there, because I kind of found Skypea to be kind of a slog to get through in some parts, but I think with this, I need to keep a more open mind about it.
Yeah, and maybe that's a video we could do towards the end of the year with all the breaks. And I think, so it is interesting to kind of see all these various connections. And I hope, and I was kind of talking to you about this before we got on here, I have this just kind of, I think the only thing I was missing with this fight is like they introduced the lore of Mads and the Lunarians at the beginning, and I didn't really feel like we learned that much from them. And I was kind of, since it started with the fight, I thought it was going to conclude with a kind of an info dump at the end of the fight. But maybe we can access that information later on, or maybe Sanji will learn it through his dad, because I guess his dad just escaped. So I don't think it's a coincidence that cover story started, and then you see King getting released from a lab too. So who knows? There might be like a pretty strong connection there, and we'll have to see how this all connects. But I do like how Oda's weaving this, and to some extent it may feel fast, but this fight was going on for a while, and we'll see. So we'll probably, after this, gonna have, let's see, we only have about 3 fights left, if I remember correctly. Or four, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's the one that everyone wants to see that Oda hasn't shown us for like forever, which is Raizo versus Fukurokuju.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, right now we're kind of we still have Yamato going for the bomb. We have Apu and Drake versus CP0.
The Big Mom Log Kid.
Yeah, and then Kaido and Luffy on the roof. Actually, that's a lot more. I had initially thought that we were going to be done with Wano like I was estimating that we were going to be done by May of next year. But I think, like, listing all those out, we might have a bit more, like maybe June or July.
Yeah, so do you think we're going to end the act at all? And if so, do you think it's going to be within the next 2 or 3 chapters?
I don't know, because I don't know if the 5-act structure is going to apply. Because usually it's a 3-act structure, but the 5-act is what, in like kabuki play or something.
Yeah.
I forget exactly what it was.
And we just brought Hiyori back in too. So
that's true. Oh yeah, we have that plot thread too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we could see the end of an arc, and then or end of an act, and then Act 4 could be dealing with the collapse of Onigashima or something, and then the 5th one can be like the resolution.
Yeah, a little mini theory I can see potentially where Zoro gets the little victory box thing, and then Enma starts hearing the music again, acts up, transitions, and it shows Hiyori and Shogun Orochi, and then maybe that can somehow, in some way, shape, or form, something happens to him in that plot line, and then she ends the act. So I think that's a possibility for next chapter. Or at least I'm hoping, because I really want to see what's going on in the other parts of the world, and I really want that intermission chapter. So I hope it's coming soon.
Yeah, that would be good. Because we've been, I mean, we started this whole year of serialization of One Piece with the beginning of the Luffy, Law, Kid, Killer, and Zoro versus Kaido and Big Mom. Like, Roof Piece was just starting.
Yeah.
With this.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So a lot's happened in a year.
Yeah, that's wild. It's definitely wild for sure. So overall, though, it was a good chapter. I liked it. It was good.
Yeah.
And it was a good moment for Zoro, and we're definitely moving along in the story too.
I have one more thing to say about the flashback. I really want to see more of this Kaido. Like, I would be all in for a Kaido flashback if he's like this, because I don't know if it was attitude or something. He just reminded me a lot of Luffy.
Yeah.
Like, so confident in himself. Like, escaping and saying, like, I'm the only one who's able to change the world. And and it's kind of
such a contrast.
And then it's like saying, like, to King, like, from today onwards, you're my right hand man. Kind of like how, like, Zoro, Luffy just kind of drags Zoro into his crew. Yeah.
And I think it's such a contrast to how he acts today, and I kind of think I see Big Mom and Kaido as kind of like failures in a way, where they're super powerful, but they weren't able to become the king. And both of them seem miserable because of it. Like, Big Mom abuses her like kids and beats the crap out of them, and she blames them for the reason why they're not the king by Lola not marrying the giant Prince Loki, right? And so she blames her. And then Kaido seems to blame Yamato in some sense too, you know, and he's just kind of an alcoholic now, you know?
Yeah.
And so they both kind of seem bitter now. And while when you look back at them, they seem kind of more like Luffy, you know? It's just kind of like maybe what a failed Luffy would look like at that point in his life in a way too, you know?
Yeah, because, I mean, we kind of see, like, different, like, the different parts of kind of all the Yonko. Like, we see Luffy's gluttonous side with Big Mom. We see his big power with Kaido, and then his dreams, like the whole Blackbeard speech with the dreams and everything. And then his connection with Shanks.
Yeah, kind of his moral compass in a way.
So like Shanks was the foundation which he treats his friends and everything.
Yeah.
So kind of all those aspects of the Yonko are kind of all in Luffy. So I really hadn't pieced that together until just now.
No, that's good. And yeah, so I'm really looking forward to the Kaido flashback. But yeah, this is definitely going to be a little longer than we thought it was, but which is good. It's fine. It's perfect. So, anyways, but yeah. So thanks for everybody for watching this, and please leave a like and a subscribe. Leave a comment if you have a question or your own theory about what's going to be happening next. So we'll probably have a chapter review coming out next week and everything, and we'll have some theory videos, some discussion videos lined up too towards the end of the year when One Piece goes on the break week. But anyways, so everybody have a good one. Stay safe out there. Peace.
Bye.